Many of you were taking your graphs from the U and shifting it up or down. That would be x squared plus 4. What I realized after the beginning of the year, students weren't being engaged. I was lecturing, they were doing some problems, we call it mimicking. I would do example, they would do example, and they just weren't getting it on the test. You could see it in their faces, you could see it in their test scores. So I wanted to take some risk, and I tried something new. So I tried this building thinking classroom model and how it worked. And what I've noticed from the feedback from the kids is they're engaged. They like how we're teaching. They like how they're learning. Okay, Finn, what do I have here? -1 minus 2. -3, very good. Times, what is -1 plus 4? 3. In my algebra class, I use vertical non-permanent structures. I use consolidation. I teach with thin slicing, small explicit teachings. And it's the combination of those things and the order of them really are effective to my students. 6 minus 3 is?
3.
3 times -3 is?
-9.
-9. Every day we have randomized groups, small groups of 3 students. I want collaboration, and I want them to be able to work and communicate with each other. So I use the data from everyday lessons to reteach sometimes. And so yesterday we took a little exit ticket, and I looked at the exit ticket and see who struggled with some of those assignments and said they didn't grasp this concept. So I pulled that small group together and we retaught that assignment to those students. The reason I use vertical non-permanent structures is twofold. One, I can see what all the students are doing at once. It's easier for me to peruse and see how they're doing. Are they grasping it or not grasping it? And 2, I find that if they're out of their desks and sitting down, they're less likely to play on their phone, play on their Chromebook, or do things that are not productive. But when I see several groups making a common mistake, I pull everyone together and then re-demonstrate what we needed to do. Time out for a second. Everyone huddle in. So if I add these together and divide by 2, I get what, John? -2, that's my export. When they're close-knit and together like that, they were very participative. It's no different than sports or anything else that we do. You're refocusing them, and maybe you're reteaching them, or maybe you're just telling them that here's what I want to happen. Then I send them back to their groups, and then they start working again. So I do the same thing on the baseball field, I do the same thing in the classroom. I find it's a very effective tool. So to help with some vocabulary concepts, I use physical demonstrations. I used a ball where I throw it in the air and they find the maximum height, and then when it hits the ground, that's our x-intercept. And I think that visual demonstration, it helps a lot of students. So at the end of class, usually the last 5 or 10 minutes, we do consolidation. So for me, consolidation is I bring them back, I have them do some notes, and we just write a big plus sign. So on the top left, they write the topic of the day. What did they learn today? What was the objective? In the top right, I use an example that I demonstrated. Here's how I would do it. And then on the bottom part of the plus sign, they write their instructions. What did they need to do to solve this type of problem in their own words? I think pulling all this together at the end of the lesson, when they go back and look at their notes, they can say, oh, how did I do this one? Oh, here's how I did it. My students now are 100% more engaged in class than they were at the beginning of the year. So I think this change has really impacted them. It really has motivated me as a teacher to kind of get excited when they're excited. That's why we teach, is to see these kids learn and be excited about school. Boom, excellent.